Thank you all for coming today to the press conference. I would like to introduce you to Richard Boykin, who is running for Clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County. This is a press conference on automatic expungement.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Richard Boykin, B-O-Y-K-I-N, a former county commissioner and proud to have represented this area on the county board. I want to thank Victor Dixon, president of the Safer Foundation, for having us here today. I want to thank Congressman Danny Davis for being here, Benny Lee, and a host of others who are here, many individuals who will speak directly to the issue before us today. We have a crisis with respect to violence in our county and our city. I believe that automatic expungement will help to abate that crisis that we currently have. A number of individuals who've been arrested and had charges dropped still carry the stigma of a record. They're being cut off from job opportunities, and as a consequence, their ability to move forward is being hindered. We want to deal with that in a real serious way, and as clerk of the circuit court, it is the area where we can help to restore individuals' lives. It's the area where we can continue the mandate of restorative justice. And I believe it's restorative justice when we have an individual who's been arrested but had those charges dropped by the state's attorney's office. Within 120 days, that those charges ought to automatically be expunged. We currently have automatic expungement for certain levels of cannabis or marijuana. I'm saying let's take the next step and help individuals who currently have records that they may not even be aware of. A case in point, an individual who's been arrested for shoplifting, only to have the charges dropped by the state's attorney, that individual still carries a record and will be cut off from opportunities to work in the financial industry and other areas. And so we're before you today on basically what makes common sense. It's common sense to say, hey, if an individual's been arrested, that individual had the charges dropped by the state's attorney. Well, then after 120 days and the state's attorney not objecting to automatic expungement, the clerk's office will then move automatically to expunge that person's record. What I've discovered is that individuals have to pay $750 to a lawyer just to get a case expunged. They also have to pay an application fee at the clerk's office. So you're talking about nearly $1,000 that an individual has to pay to get their record expunged, and that's just one arrest. What I'm saying to you is this: as clerk of the court, we will expunge that within 120 days. We'll move on the person's behalf, and we'll do it without charging them one dime, because they shouldn't be charged anything for that. Let me share with you some startling statistics that I received on the amount of arrests in 2018. In 2018, there were 379,939 people arrested. Of that, 47,849 people had their cases dropped. In other words, the state's attorney decided not to go after them and prosecute them. Now, I'm before you because the egregiousness of this 379,000 people. Of that number, I want to share with you the ethnic background of people arrested in 2018. Asians, 2,326. They had 332 of their cases dropped. African Americans, 245,633. Let me say that again. 245,633 African Americans were arrested in 2018. 28,413 had their cases dropped. Indians, 127 arrested, 14 cases dropped. Whites and Hispanics, This is another problem with our criminal justice system here in the county. And we're going to change this too, because this was a similar problem in terms of deaths and classifying whites and Hispanics together. They deserve to be broken down separately. Whites and Hispanics have been classified together for purposes of arrest. In 2018, 83,937 whites and Hispanics were arrested. 9,588 of them had their cases dropped, their charges dropped. And so what I'm saying to you today is that this just makes sense. Look, we will do it on day one. We will work with the chief judge to have him extend a general order that allows for automatic expungement in instances where charges have been dropped by the state's attorney. We give the state's attorney 120 days, which is 4 months, to be able to decide to recharge the case or bring it back. And we also give them an opportunity to object to having automatic expungement in that case. But for God's sake, we have to make sure that individuals have an opportunity to live their lives, have an opportunity to move beyond an arrest and to live a meaningful life free of harassment and free of having a situation where they go for a job and they have a background that comes up that they were unaware of. And so with that being said, I want to bring to the microphone Victor Dixon, who's the president of the SAFER Foundation, the premier organization that gives people a second chance, a third chance, and a fourth chance at life, and they're doing cutting-edge work all throughout our county. Victor Dixon.
Well, good morning and welcome to SAFER Foundation. My name is Victor Dixon, D-I-C-K-S-O-N. I'm the president and CEO of SAFER Foundation. Our organization has been around since 1972. We help people with arrest and conviction records get the resources they need to re-enter the community, to become fully productive citizens, to reclaim their rights as citizens. And that's very important. So I want to just say a couple of things. So first of all, criminal justice reform in our country right now is really the civil rights fight of this generation. America violates the human rights of its own citizens in the criminal justice system more than any other developed nation in the world. It is in our justice system that the greatest injustices are committed against specifically poor people and people with color, mostly African Americans. In the criminal justice systems, our laws are enforced in a discriminatory manner, and our judicial processes produce harsher consequences for poor people and people of color. The disproportionate contact with the justice system for poor people of color leaves them labeled and branded with criminal records. Right now, we have 70 to 100 million people in our country that have an arrest or conviction record. We have 4.2 million people in the state of Illinois that have some sort of arrest or conviction record in a state that only has about 9 million adults. In the city of Chicago, we believe that there's close to a third of the residents, the citizens of Chicago, have an arrest or conviction record. So our society has created thousands of punishments for people with records that follow them for life, sometimes even when they have been found innocent of a crime or charges dropped, as Mr. Boykin mentioned. So automatic expungement is the right thing to do. The arrest record alone can impact a person's ability to get a job, to get education, to get housing, and much, much more. Dr. Keisha Middlemass, who's a professor at Howard University, calls having a record a social disability. The record impairs a person from functioning fully in our society, and we relegate them to a second-class citizenship, a permanent punishment. So every candidate for any public office, from the highest office to the municipal offices, really should be challenged to describe how they will reform the justice system at their level of government and ensure that everyone is treated equitably and has a true second chance at life. This may seem like something simple, but if you go and apply for a job, if you apply to rent an apartment, or anything you do, and they do a background check, and an arrest pops up, most often, people are denied. And so the simple thing of expunging a record can open up an opportunity for people to have a normal life, a life that they deserve just like the rest of us. So I want to thank Mr. Boykin for putting forward this initiative, and we really look forward to this happening. It will help our clients tremendously, because many of them come here and they have charges that have been dropped or been found innocent, but they still have a record. So thank you very much. I want to invite Benny Lee to come up. Benny is a person who does tremendous work in the community, helping people coming out of prison, helping to reestablish their lives. He's an advocate, he's an educator, he's a service provider, and a great champion in our city. So, Benny Lee.
Well, thank you for this opportunity to come in before you. I'm one of the founders of NAFI, National Alliance for the Empowerment of the Formerly Incarcerated. You know, my dilemma is back in 1978, me and 16 other gang leaders were charged with 15 counts of murder, 2 attempt murder, and mob action as a result of a riot that happened in Pontiac Prison where 3 guards got killed. We were all acquitted on that. That means the case was thrown out. But somehow that continued to haunt me, and when that showed up on my record as a case that I was arrested for, but it was thrown out, that'll make a potential landlord or employer or regulation board or licensors to block me from obtaining licenses or employment because of that experience. I've had my rap sheet pulled, and I've seen on there cases that was SOL back in 1971 and 72. And what SOL means, state on lead. What that means is the state's attorney feel they want to drop the case, and they got 120 days to bring up new evidence to recharge a person. But after that, if they don't have new evidence, they have to throw the case out completely. So I have cases SOL on my rap sheet. And when you read my rap sheet, it looks like the case is still pending because they never take it off my rap sheet. And you got many of people in this city around the country that are facing what you call invisible punishments. Because see, when a person goes, say, to a discipline training to get a license to become CNA or whatever that license may be, when they go through all what they have to through that schooling, and then they go to apply for the license, then they denied that license because an arrest show up on their background. And these are cases that was thrown out. And these are, as he mentioned, social disabilities. This, in reality, we have what we call 3/5 of citizenship. You know, my whole challenge to society and legislators is, when do our wrongs end and our rights begin? You know, when do our wrongs end and our rights begin? I've worked my way up to get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and fortunately, Northeastern Illinois University found fit to hire me as an adjunct professor where I teach in the Justice Studies Department. But if I went inside of a Walmart and they had a policy where they don't hire people with convictions in their background, they might deny me a job as a stock boy because I got a case in my rap sheet. And this is what a lot of people are faced with. These are not convictions that's hindering people. These are just arrests that are never taken off of people's rap sheet. This is something that Mr. Boykin is pushing, that a person case, once it's thrown out, should automatically be expunged off their rap sheet. Why should a person be burdened with spending money to get this record taken off their rap sheet when it's been thrown out? You know, we got a constitutional right to what you call the due process of the law. This should be added in due process of the law. That once your case is thrown out, that case should automatically be expunged off your rap sheet because it's hindering people and it's putting a stress on people's lives and it's putting people in a position where they can't live up to the norm set for society, and it's especially women can't get jobs and licenses to take care of children, men to be fathers, and this will lead to people committing crimes that lead to a lot of violence. So I think this is a serious issue people should look at, and we should fight to have this filed and passed that records should automatically be expunged once they're thrown out. I want to bring up a brother Najee to share with you one of his experience of a case he got that was expunged still show up on his rap sheet.
Hello everyone, I'm Candido Ubilis. Everyone calls me Najee. And in 1992, I was arrested for aggravated assault, and today, 28 years later, it's still on my record as an arrest or something like that, and it's still there. And we are only a few of many who have to deal with this every day, and something should be done about this because 28 years later, that still shows up as if it's an open case or an arrest or a conviction. Thank you.
Can you please spell your name?
Candido, last name Ubilis, Ublies. Thank you.
I want to bring up somebody who all of us know and we're all very proud of. I had the privilege and honor of working for him for almost 10 years. He is the foremost individual on Second Chance. He passed the Second Chance Act in the United States Congress that's providing people second, third, fourth chances all across the United States of America. Congressman Danny Davis.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. You know, the Bible says that where there is no vision, the people perish. And that's why I'm always pleased when I see people like Richard Boykin run for public office, who's willing to take what already exists and then move it beyond that to another level. There was one poet who said some people see things that are and ask why. But I dream of things that have never been and ask why not. And so why not justice for everybody? So I'm pleased to be here today with him, with Victor Dixon from the Safer Foundation. The Safer Foundation is the greatest organization in this country and a pioneer dealing with this issue. Victor has testified before members of the House, members of the Senate, members of state government, state legislators, commissions, anybody looking at the whole business of criminal justice reform. And what can we really do to kind of balance the scales and even things up, and to see individuals who have benefited in some way. Brother Benny Lee, who has brought himself back to become an advocate, to say, here is what happened, and I'm not talking what I read, I'm not talking what I heard. One of the most pernicious issues in this country is how we handle criminal justice. We are the most incarcerated nation on the face of the earth. There is no nation, China, Russia, India, nobody incarcerates as many of its people and hamstrings them as much as we do. So to think that there are thousands of people, thousands, not just two gentlemen, thousands of people in Cook County who cannot get consideration even for a job. In some instances, they may not have been convicted of anything. They were arrested and charged. And when they go to try to get work, I know a man who is 87 years old, who lived in public housing. When they did a review, they discovered that he had been arrested at one point for impersonating a police officer. And the real deal in that case is he was a security guard. And the police stopped him, and he thought he'd pull out his badge, and he said to the officer, look, we in the same business, man. Why don't you give me a break? And so the police officer, of course, took umbrage with that and charged him with impersonating. When they discovered that this 87-year-old man lived in one of the public housing developments, he was put out. That's been about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe more. And ever since then, he has been moving around from place to place, trying to find a place to live. And now he has one, but he's spending all of his Social Security check paying the rent. And when he gets through paying rent with his Social Security check, he has virtually nothing left because he cannot live in subsidized housing and has not been able to find a place. We owe it to ourselves to stop that. We owe it to ourselves to make sure that that does not continue to happen. And so when Mr. Boykin comes up with a plan, an idea, I've been in Cook County since 1961, and I've never totally known until a point what the clerk of the circuit court did. But I decided to tackle this business of reentry, and we had something called an expungement summit. So many people came until I couldn't even get there. I'm saying there were so many people who came. We had it at Austin High School. I couldn't even get to the place for people coming to try to get some help. And then Dorothy Brown got elected to the circuit court and started holding these summits. Every year there are more than 2,000-3,000 people who come just to try to get some help with their record. Every year since then. There's a woman in my office who comes in every day and works 4 hours. All that she does is help people with their records. They come in there and on the street they call her Mama Reed. How's Mama Reed? I say, your mama, who is that? You know the lady who helped me with my record. And so it's very important that we have creative, energetic people in public office who will use that office to solve problems. And that's why I'm so proud to stand here with this group and with Richard Boykin as he runs for clerk of the circuit court of Cook County.
Anybody else want to say something?
We'll open it up for questions.
Did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah.
Well, please give us your name and spelling.
My name is Gerard Mora, Gerard, last name Moorer. So, I think this issue is very vital to our community. As I prepare to run for office, I actually running for state representative of the 10th district right now. And when I go down to Springfield, this would be one of the first issues that I would tackle. I think black folk need more than second chances. We need third chances. When we born, we need a second chance because of the systematic racism that we face that's been in place before we even get to this earth. So, Richard Boykin, I'm so proud of what you are doing as it relates to trying to shine light on the issue that need even more light shining on it. Just imagine if a person like Malcolm X would have died Detroit Red hustling in the street, if he would have never had a second chance. He saved so many lives. Maya Angelou, she was a prostitute. She was whatever you want to name in a negative fashion, but she ended up dying one of the greatest poets to ever live. So it's so many lives being surrendered prematurely before they even have an opportunity to live. And I just glad to be a part of this group as we continue to shine light on the issue of second chance. Thank you.
And we'll open it up to questions.
Richard, do you have any sense of how much this initiative would cost the office?
Look, I don't think it's a matter of cost. I think the cost is what it is to not do it. And that is more lives lost, That is more hopelessness in communities. And that is people who are denied opportunities just based on the fact that they've been arrested and then only to have the charges dropped by the state's attorney. So it's not going to cost the office much at all. If anything, we're talking about restorative justice and restoring people's lives. I don't think you can put a cost on restoring somebody's life. At the end of the day, the clerk's office and the court system should not be viewed as a financial center on the backs of people who can least afford to pay by adding fines and fees on people. And of course, having a situation where somebody has to pay $160 to start an expungement application, and you got to hire a lawyer or you got to go to a legal aid group and hope that they're not stretched to the gills, that they can have somebody to help you with your application. At the end of the day, it costs $750 just to begin an expungement with a lawyer. And so you're talking about nearly $1,000. Now, last time I looked, people have difficulty coming up with about $400 in disposable income to deal with an emergency situation. So how can you expect folks like the ones we're talking about to come up with that kind of money? What I'll also say is this institutionalized racism. That's all this is. Look, at the end of the day, when you heard the numbers of arrests, 245,000 of the people arrested were African Americans. Of the 379,000, come on, something's wrong.
And also, have you talked with either the current state's attorney or anyone in the state's attorney's office how if they are satisfied with the notification that they would get?
Look, I think, and I hope to do that right after this election's over in 30 days. I think that anybody who would be against this, there is something wrong with them. We got to do everything that we can to restore people's dignity, to restore their hope, to restore their rights. They're citizens of this great nation and this great state. And as long as we hold people back, guess what? They can't participate fully in our economy and in our society. I want to do everything to unleash the entrepreneurial spirit that everybody has. And that's what this is all about. I will work with the chief judge to get this done so we don't have to go to Springfield to get it done, because we know things happen down there and you can't move things. But we can get it done right here in Cook County. We did it for cannabis, and now I'm saying we ought to do it in cases where a person has been arrested only to have the charges dropped. The state's attorney often has the last say. If they actually object to an automatic expungement, then that's that case. But where you have thousands of cases, nearly 47,000 people who would be eligible for automatic expungement, I think it helps all of us. I think it moves us all forward in the county, and you won't have all those people coming to these expungement summits. Now, on the expungement summit, my idea there is to make sure we do it on a quarterly basis and not just have one annual expungement summit. We do it on a quarterly basis, and we take it around the county. We do one on the west side, one on the south side, south suburbs, west suburbs. And we cover everybody, and we do it in small numbers. Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Daryl, and I am a member of the organization of NAFI, and my occupation deal with underserved individuals that's living through poverty. And I see often that they come in not able to get a job because of their job, because of their background. Mm-hmm. And this is very informative right here that I can pass this on and maybe help some of these guys. Because it leads into other situations, yes, mental health and substance abuse and all of that. So this is very important.
Thank you all for being here. Congressman, did you have any final words you want to say?
No, I think it's been said, and I think it has to be done.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
I'm Attorney Richard Boykin. I humbly ask for your support for Clerk of the Circuit Court of Cook County.